It was a beautiful summer day, the sun was shining, the birds were singing, and the flowers were in full bloom. John had woken up feeling great and was looking forward to enjoying the day. However, as he sat down for breakfast, he found himself thinking about a negative experience from his past. He tried to push the thought out of his mind, but the more he tried not to think about it, the more it kept coming back. John tried to distract himself by turning on the TV, but the news only made him more anxious. He went for a walk, hoping that the fresh air and exercise would clear his mind, but the thoughts persisted. He tried to talk to a friend about it, but found himself unable to articulate his feelings. The more he tried not to think about it, the more the negative thoughts consumed him. After struggling for hours, John realized that trying not to think about something was only making it worse. He realized that he had been giving too much power to the negative thoughts by trying to suppress them. He understood that he needed to shift his focus away from the unwanted thoughts and onto something positive. He decided to try a mindfulness exercise that he had heard about from a therapist. John sat down in a quiet place and focused on his breath. Every time a negative thought entered his mind, he acknowledged it, and then let it go. He visualized himself letting go of the thought like a balloon floating away in the sky. He focused on the sensation of his breath going in and out, and the sounds around him. Slowly but surely, he felt the grip of the negative thoughts loosen. As you can see from the brief story about John, we're all in some way or another are trying to avoid those negative thoughts that arise out of nowhere. In this video, we'll be discussing how the mind works with thoughts, and why trying not to think of something can actually make you think of it more. Before we dive into the topic of thoughts, let's first get a brief understanding on how the mind works. The human mind is incredibly complex and is made up of various parts that work together to process information and make decisions. At the core of the mind is the subconscious, which is responsible for controlling our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The subconscious is constantly processing information from our environment and using that information to guide our actions. Thoughts are mental images, ideas, or beliefs that arise in the mind. They can be triggered by external stimuli or internal processes, and can range from simple to complex. Thoughts can be incredibly powerful and can shape our perceptions of the world around us. They can influence our emotions, behaviors, and even our physical health. When we try not to think of something, we often end up thinking about it more. This phenomenon is known as the white bear effect. In a classic study, participants were instructed not to think of a white bear. However, when the researchers later asked the participants to freely think about whatever they wanted, the white bear was the most common thought. So, why does this happen? It has to do with the way the mind processes information. When we try not to think of something, we focus our attention on that very thing. Our subconscious mind doesn't understand the concept of not thinking, so it actually amplifies the thought in our mind. This can lead to a cycle of trying not to think of something, only to think of it more, which can be incredibly frustrating. The key is to shift our focus away from the unwanted thought and onto something else. This can be done through various techniques, such as mindfulness, meditation, or visualization. For example, if you're trying not to think of a bad memory, you can try visualizing a peaceful scene or focusing on your breath. By doing this, you're redirecting your attention away from the unwanted thought and onto something more positive. Remember, we do not have the liberty of controlling specific thoughts that come into our mind. However, we do have the power to decide on which thought we will give our attention to. I have found that the key is to not attempt to suppress those negative thoughts, however, acknowledge them without judgment and they will pass. I hope you have found this video helpful, and if so, please subscribe, like and share with friends.